All right, welcome. Today is actually not going to be another Meet the Promoter podcast. Today, we are going to deep dive into the vast drug screening system. The AMBF is going to be moving forward with the vast system to do the drug testing for our events. A lot of people have legitimate questions about this system. So that is what this podcast is going to be set up for. So this way you guys get to know what's going on with the VAST system, the approach that the AMBF wants to take moving forward into the future, and why me and Kent, we collectively thought that this would be the best approach for not only the AMBF, but moving forward for the natural bodybuilding scene here stateside. So first, I want to start with our guest. So I'd like for you to introduce yourself to the audience. Let us know your background, some of your credentials, and we'll get this thing going.
Hi. Hello, hello, America. From very cold England here. However, my name is Don Cargill. My background, actually, I was a polygraph. I'm still am a polygrapher for over 20 years now. So long in the tooth. I think I'm Britain's longest serving qualified examiner now. I qualified at the International Academy in Fort Lauderdale in 2006 now. However, there are a few polygraphers in the UK, but I'm actually the chairman of the British and European Polygraph Association and a full member of the American Polygraph Association and a director of the British Polygraph Academy here, where we train people around the world, actually. But I'm also a member of the American Police Polygraph Association. So it's a long in the tooth job. But saying that, about 10 years ago, I was pitching for business with a major security company. And they said to me, Don, we want to pitch for a major event. We want you to polygraph everyone. I said, polygraph everyone, who being that? And he said, oh, well, it's the hot dog salesman, the athletes, the media, the security officers, the ticket office. I said, how many people could it possibly be? And he said, well, maybe 20,000. I said, what? Absolutely not. There's not enough polygraphers in the world could do that, not in the time frame anyway. And obviously in different languages. Nah. And someone just said, well, why can't you do that in today's modern age? And I said, really? Well, you can't. It's not really been invented. So I went away with that thought in my head, and I thought, well, if we can automate in some respects, from a screening point of view, that process, and then I spent a lot of time thinking about the brief, and it had to be secure, it had to be regularized, it had to be independent, it had to be impartial, it had to be non-racial, and I also then thought, well, what else would make a good product? And it would be, it's portable, it's static. So I gave myself a tough brief, in truth. But along with my manufacturing partners, we cracked the problem. We automated, in many respects, the polygraph screening system, not a diagnostic, did you do it system, but for screening only, which is exactly what my client wanted. So we made a prototype and took it to our leading university in the UK, called King's College in London. And I kept away from the project then. We were told to keep away whilst they came up with the validity and accuracy and specificity and sensitivity of the product. And so they came up with a research project through their special labs, and they VAS tested 200 students. Half were told to tell the truth and half were told to lie. And 3 months later, they came back and said, you've got an incredible product. It's incredibly accurate and very good at finding lies and truthful people alike. I went away with that knowledge and then modified the product. Then I took it into field testing, and field testing was done via the UK police forces, and they adopted it for testing on registered sex offenders on their maintenance programs. Majorly successful. And then I took it further, and we obviously then got involved in the bodybuilding side, and we did some of the tournaments in the UK with guys over here. Again, it was very successful. So we're now, after a lot of modification, a lot of field testing, a lot of lab testing, we know the product is really, really accurate and a quick tool. But it's got lots of benefits. I'm a polygrapher, so I'm a great advocate of polygraph, as you probably gather. So it's not replacing polygraph. It's helping me do my job a lot quicker, a lot more effectively, in truth. So in terms of competitions, which is obviously what the bodybuilders do, or fishing competitions, bodybuilding competitions, where there's lots of people to screen in a very short space of time, the feedback was, yeah, people are doing that, and it's done through Polygraph. Well, it's not quite. It's done. Well, so a camouflage polygraph, should I put that way? It's done too quickly, and no polygraph takes, by the way, should take a minimum, according to APO rules, an hour and a half minimum to do a proper, accurate polygraph test. The VAS system is about 20 minutes to half an hour. So I can get through an awful lot of people, and the ones that fail them, I then polygraph them. So it's like an indicator, a high-level indicator. It's an extra security tool. So if it's taken in that concept, it's not fighting polygraph, it's working with polygraph in that respect.
It's working with true polygraph.
It's working with true polygraph, and I think you're trying to find. There are polygraphers, God bless them, who have they're under a lot of pressure at these competitions to deliver results to the organisers, and they just churn them out. Now that is not right. I don't think it's fair. It's not fair in the competition entrance at all. They're getting screened. How accurate is that screening? I wouldn't like to bet. But we know that polygraph is accurate. You know the VAS is accurate.
Yes.
But 5 minute polygraph is not accurate.
Yeah, but here's the thing. The thing is, looking at it from that perspective of the pain points of the athlete and also the promoter, um, being able to do an hour and a half test it's like you said, it's not practical. So that's what leads the door open to these shorter tests. So if a shorter test is a requirement in order for everything to work practically, that's where I think the VAS system comes in. That's where the VAS system has some of that superiority and some of that advancement that will clean up some of that, the mishaps and all the shortcomings of a very, very, very brief polygraph exam.
I'm glad you said parentheses around that, because they're not polygraph exams. The reality is that the VAS system takes 20 minutes. It's done in using a silent answer technique. So the person doesn't even answer the question. They simply hear the question on the audio headset and they answer it in the head. That increases the accuracy response rates, because people have to lie to themselves first before they think the truth. And it's really difficult. From a physiological point of view, that does increase the accuracy, because they do sweat more, the heartbeat beats more. So we're not cutting corners with that. That's the beauty of it. And going back to those students at King's College London, I mean, the phenomenal results, they were looking at almost 88% were caught out to be telling the truth, and about the same for telling lies. Bearing in mind, these students had nothing to win or nothing to gain or nothing to lose. They're just students that are getting a £10 book voucher for every time they took part. So even with that nothing to lose, it was incredibly high. We believe
So,
it's
oh, wait,
lost.
so what you're saying is, if someone, it was impressive that it was that accurate with nothing to lose. When you have
Yeah,
something to lose, the physiological response will probably be more.
absolutely
Okay.
spot on with that. Yeah, I mean that's what really happened. We know in the field when assessing sex offenders, it's a terrible word, but we do an awful lot of it. Um, they do have a higher result. We haven't done the research, but it certainly will be in the high 90s. And for a 30-minute test, the high 90s is a great indicator to a police officer either investigate further or release their parole conditions a little bit. And so, in terms of you guys, you want to know that, am I sitting this thing for a bit of fun? Is it a deterrent? Is it a real polygraph? Is it a real screening test? And if it's a 5-10 minute test or less than an hour, it's not real. It's not a real polygraph. So they should never pretend it is. And I would never do that. But I say within the UK, if they fail the VAS system, we then polygraph them again. We'll let you polygraph the winners. So it doesn't matter. But I can't do 60, 70 competitors in a weekend. I
Yeah.
haven't got time polygraph wise.
Yeah. Now, just to rewind, what does VAST stand for?
It means what it says on the tin, basically, validated automated screening technology.
Okay.
And that's exactly what it is. It's been validated to be highly accurate. The training for a VAST operator is like 2 hours. We've trained over 500 police officers on courses, 2 hour training, and they're working the VAST system. So it's great. If a person can come in, put the attachments on, half an hour later, you're going to get a really, really high level of accuracy of results, and they can pass or fail. We did a test. I think it was in Scotland. Oh no, it wasn't. It was actually in Berlin. Every single person passed, apart from one person. And that person admitted he'd taken a performance-enhancing drug. So it did catch the one baddie. So we were happy, and the organisers were happy, and the word got round that it was just a superb result for them. And I think that's the key to it, is keeping the integrity of the competitions high. Um, you know, I smile when I get complaints about polygraphers doing 20-minute tests. And I go, nah, it's not real. What do you mean it's not real? He's got a certificate. It's not real. And I don't blame the examiner in many ways. I'm not saying he's taking the easy book. He's actually working to a brief and get rid of so many people in a short space of time. But the athletes don't know the difference. They're just going, I've been polygraphed. And that is a catch to it. They haven't. They've been quickly screened.
Yeah. Now, quickly, could you talk about how this vast system, in a nutshell, how does it work? What should someone expect? What is it monitoring? Can you get into quick details? Don't get, you don't have to go too deep, but just
I'm going to go for deep on physiology. The reality is that I've based it on the best principles of polygraph. That's my background. So they are using a system called directed lie screening, which means we ask the person to lie in their head and then compare that lie with the relevant question that have been asked. So that's an AP approved technique. The silent answer technique, they don't speak during the test. The headset goes on and they're watching a presenter presenting the questions to them. And again, so that is, again, an approved technique with silent answer. So what we're measuring are the physical heart rate changes and a pulse oximeter change. We're looking at GSR, galvanic skin response. So when a person lies, they do sweat more, which is what polygraph measures. The pulse oximeter looks at the oxygenation in the blood and the heart rate, and then therefore the pressure in the blood. So it's basically all the things. And we have got built into the system very high level countermeasure sensors. And I'll talk about very briefly. People try and beat the polygrapher and beat the VAST operator by moving their sphincter muscle, their butt. So we do put a pad on the chair, make sure they're not clenching their butt. And they're warned on the video, the presenting video, do not move around. You get 3 attempts to do this, and after the 4th, we'll consider it a countermeasure.
Sorry to cut you off. What about people? I have white coat syndrome. Like, I don't like doctors. I don't like being around certain people. I've gone into play. I check my blood pressure every day. I'm fine. I go someplace, they check my blood pressure, and I already feel aggravated. Oh, you have high blood pressure. It's like, I have it because I'm here.
Yeah,
So
of course.
what?
We call it the doctor syndrome or
Yeah.
dentist syndrome. Yeah, this is why on the VAST system, they are asked other questions. And so they're asked neutral questions to establish a baseline, like, are you in China now, or are you 100 feet tall, or whatever. And that establishes a baseline. Then we do a thing called psychological set, introducing the subject of the screen to gauge their reaction and focus their mind. And then we ask control questions, which we know will be lies. And then we ask the relevant question about the screening. So it's a series of questions with control questions and relevant questions, which literally removes all the white collar fear.
Because if your baseline is already high and agitated,
Yeah,
that's your baseline. So if I get
that's it.
more agitated, it's probably a sign of something, correct?
Yeah, that's well, we're looking where the brain is focusing. The innocent people focus on when we've told them to lie. The innocent persons have got nothing to worry about because they haven't cheated on their bodybuilding drugs, and so they've got nothing to worry about. So they're more worried about the fact that I've asked them a question about, have you lied to your family? And so this is the comparison questions help the process of the white collar syndrome.
Gotcha.
You know, but we've also got extra countermeasures built in to stop people trying to zone out, stop people fidgeting, people moving their arms. We've got sensor pads on the feet and sensor pads underneath their arms, stop them clenching their calf muscles and the forearms. So it's
So this is
high.
this is this is this is in depth.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's no messing about with these tests. This is why it's really, really accurate. If you mess about, you get caught. And so we'll call you an invalid test. But people, when they realise they have to keep still, concentrate, people trying to zone out are hit with the word no on the screen, which brings them round. It reassures the innocent, finds the guilty, increases their response. And then, but we've even got on the audio headset, which is where the video is being delivered audially, is actually we've got bite sensors, people biting their tongues. So again, we've got sensors built into the headset
Damn,
to
there's a
stop
lot.
people.
There's a lot going
Oh
on.
man, it's this is why it's incredible.
Yeah,
I love the
this is
product.
yeah,
This is
okay.
why
This is
it's
I can
better
get
than
down with
me.
this. I can get down with this. Okay. So let's go back a little bit. Let's talk about accuracy numbers. So
Yeah.
is this true that a a true full polygraph over an hour and a half with a
Uh-huh.
seasoned, experienced examiner, you're looking at an accuracy rate of 93%? Is that fair to assume?
You know what? I'm a, my background as an academic is that I don't understand the word accuracy. What it means is that if this is why VAS works, it's a consistent delivered product every single time, every single person. So we can talk about the accuracy of the VAS system. Polygraphers, if someone polygrapher is 100% right all the time and one is right 50% of the time, does that mean all polygraphers are 75%? No. The actual instrument is 100% accurate at measuring heart rate, blood pressure, and sweat, breathing. So it's just the interpretation of the graphs, which where the skilled examiner picks up. So accuracy wise, I don't know. Am I 100%? Am I 95%? I wouldn't know. I do know what VAST is because it's an automated system. So it with the difference. So a bad examiner is a bad examiner. A good pilot's a good pilot. A bad pilot's a bad pilot. A good doctor's a good doctor. But a good examiners should be getting 90 odd percent. But I still don't agree with that because even they can get that wrong. Even I've got them probably wrong. So I have
Yeah.
to be honest about that. But by doing it properly, doing it by the book, doing it within the timescales, getting the psychological set, doing practice sessions with them, I should be literally aiming for that. And then the skill on top of the examiner is to say, look, you failed your polygraph test. Let's talk about it. Where do you think you failed it and why? And use the interrogation techniques. So, and again, it depends how good the examiner is at using
Yeah.
that skill. So, how accurate is an examiner? I don't know.
But once you remove that time frame, if we have
Mm-hmm.
an accuracy level, let's say here, once you
Yeah.
start to cut into that time frame, when you start to go down to, again, with the traditional approach of a polygraph exam, once you start to remove that time frame and you start to cut into half hour, 15 minutes, what do you think happens to that accuracy?
Put it in the bin. I mean, end of the day, you can't cut corners on these things. I wouldn't know. I could cut corners, but I know would not be as accurate. I wouldn't be getting psychological set on the examinee. I wouldn't be relaxing them. I wouldn't be getting the right questions. I'd be pushing them too hard. Even the environment, for instance, has to be ideal. If it's a noisy building site in the background or I have to stop the test and rework it. If there's a fire alarm going off, we have to do it again. So it's a proper process with a good examiner. So if you're trying to cut corners and you hear a noise in the background, you think, oh, I can't bother to do that again. Then you're going to reduce accuracy rates. So, but beyond less than 50%, 50%, you're tossing a coin on someone's life. And that is, heads or tails. And that's 50%. So
So
I would not risk it.
So toe to toe, then, if you're comparing, there are shorter exams out there. There are shorter tests than a half hour out there, from what I've seen and heard.
Have you?
If you take even the half hour, if you take even the half hour exam and you put it toe to toe with Vast, who would you bet on?
100% on VAST, 100%. Because we didn't test the system. The system is being tested by one of the world's leading academic universities. The scientists and professors who did the research had to be approved by the ethics committee for doing the validity testing. And I tell you how that worked, because one of the problems when we're looking at accuracy is scientists have tried to say, how do we prove polygraph is accurate? And we'll do some fake theft cases, we'll do fake this. King's College did not do that. They took 200 students, they told half of them to lie on their academic qualifications and half to tell the truth. They checked those results. So we didn't know who was who. We were just given numbers. So in they came, independently tested by this university. And so we didn't know who were telling lies, who were telling the truth. We gave the results back to the university and they matched them up. So it was completely impartial. We know the system therefore works and it's accurate. Every single time is accurate. And we had very little, very little inconclusives and very few false negatives and false positives, which is for me was the reassuring bit.
All right. So also too, this is not anti-polygraph. You
No,
said
at all.
before that the VAST system helps true polygraphs and true polygraph examiners as a tool. But what is not happening at, I'm not even going to say bodybuilding tournaments. What is happening at like fishing tournaments is not a true polygraph. It is a abbreviated type of screening or deterrent on a very, very limited time schedule to accommodate that high volume in a short time schedule.
You've
That's what's
summarised
happening.
it. Yeah, you've summarised it perfectly. Mike Burke, God bless him, Chief Marshal in America, he said that vast is like a radar. So this again, this radar analogy, which is exactly right. We spot a friendly, unfriendly plane that is vast. It's got that whole host of planes, but spots one problem, sends up the fighter pilot. He said it's not friendly. They bring it down, or it is friendly. Let it go. So that is the polygraph. It's digging deeper. So it does a great job of digging deeper. The VAST is just going to screen them out and say, look, I've got 6 baddies, 7 baddies offenders to do. I haven't got time to polygraph them all. VAST them. Now, who do I pick on? The one that with the one that didn't look right, the one that gave me the funny look in the morning, the one with the high hip the officials on his T-shirt. I'm going to say, hey, let's just screen them all, and the ones that fail, we're going to polygraph them. So everyone gets a fair shot at this, and that's how I would do it with the bodybuildings, with fishing or whatever competitions. But it's going to help you. You know, with high probability, if they do pass, they pass because they're genuinely clean. Um, yeah, it's a working cap in hand with polygraphers,
Yeah.
and
So
that's why it works, and that's why the police love it.
yeah, and that's why I feel like I wanted to have this approach, moving forward. I knew I'm not an idealist. I know that what is happening in certain places is not exactly accurate or practical. Well, it is practical because they're making up for that time, but it's not very accurate. I wanted to move in a different direction that enabled efficiency with accuracy. I wanted to be able to handle volume, but handle volume with care. And I
Yeah,
did
but I
want,
think that's you're absolutely right. That's
yeah,
exactly what I want people to enter your competition knowing they're going to be fairly screened. They're not going to be rush screened. People are paying money to be
yeah,
screened,
yep.
paying genuine bucks they've earned, and they're going to sort of have this screening test, and they're going to go, yeah, you pass, you're okay, go. And you're thinking that's not fair. That's not right on the
It's also
competition.
not, it's also not, it doesn't help the credibility of one, the event that you're hosting. It's not good for the credibility of the organization that's holding that event, and it's not good for the credibility of the sport as a whole. If people talk and knowledge gets passed around where it's like, oh yeah, oh that test, oh it's a joke, which I've heard for years. It's like, oh no,
Mhm.
no yeah, well, it's like you don't want it to be a joke. You don't want it to be a joke. Something will bad things will always happen, but the worst thing is for, let's say, someone to beat the polygraph that's only 10 minutes, and then they go win, and then they take a urine test and they fail the urine test. It's like, why did
Absolutely.
this person get through? Gee, I wonder. Because what are you truly going to do without technology and some sort of advanced system in in 15 minutes, in
But
in
the
20
reality,
minutes?
well, people don't know that polygraph takes an hour and a half. They don't.
Well,
So
that's why this educational piece this is important. People need
absolutely.
to know the distinctions between what's happening. This is not this podcast is not, and I am not anti-polygraph. I just think
No,
that
well,
there's a difference
good.
between a polygraph and what is going on in the fishing tournaments.
Okay, absolutely. I want to get the reputation for my clients. I consider you a client using the system. Is that I want to say we are really gold standard here. We are really gold standard. We're not some sort of backstreet, throw them in, throw them out, get the money off them, and throw them into a competition. Uh, and ruin their reputations or whatever. It's not fair on them. And that's how I look at it. It has to be fair. It has to be gold standard. In my job, as chairman of the Polygraph Association Britain and Europe, I get complaints about examiners cutting corners, not in just competitions, about cutting polygraph corners. And I don't like it. And I think, well, you just. So when I look back over the charts and interview the examiner, what happened there? Well, I didn't have time to do it properly. Well, you shouldn't do it then. It's really, you shouldn't let the reputation fall down. And polygraph should not be taken as a joke. And so, but what they say is, well, it's a deterrent, isn't it? It's actually a deterrent to people not to do drugs. Therefore, it's working, even if it's not, it's pseudoscience, it's working. It's not working. It's frightening people. That's all it's doing. And the reality is that you want a reputation for getting good quality athletes that are being cleaned through the system and they're winning competitions because they're genuinely drug free.
Yeah.
And that's how I look at it.
Do you truly believe that this system, this approach, can change and revolutionize the landscape of natural bodybuilding or anything that requires this type of test? I'm looking for something, and I have been looking for a long time. I'm a tech guy. I want advancements. I want efficiency. I want performance. I want accuracy. Those are the things I look for. I don't want to like have to deal with all this other crap, this outdated stuff. I'm not about that. I want truly groundbreaking things, and this appealed to me big time once I started to dive into it. But from your perspective, what do you think the potentials are here? Do you think that this is something, again, revolutionary? To you, it may not be because you're so involved in it, but
No,
for us here, this is a big, I think this is a big step. This is an industry disruptor, which is perfect because I am the ultimate industry disruptor. So this is all on brand for me.
yeah, you know what? I spent 10 years of my life doing this, and I would not pursue this with to the nth degree. And I'm passionate about research, field research, academic research, getting the feedback, improving the product, moving it on, improving the algorithms, then retesting again. And it's so 10 years of my life, and I know it's working now. Do I believe in it? 1000%. I mean, 1000%. The feedback we get from the UK police forces are phenomenal. Let me give you one example. We were tested in the north of England, and it was an offender about my age, 22, 23.
Yeah.
However, he was a granddad guy, and he was on his maintenance program for offending with children. And he came in for his VAS test, and he said, "Okay." At the end of it, I said, "You failed. Why have you failed?" "I don't know why I failed." "Okay. Can I do it again?" "Well, you can do it again if you want," but it failed again, and it failed again. I said, "Why do you keep doing this?" He said, "Well, I've got an idea why I keep failing." I said, "Well, you tell me what your idea is." He said, "I've not done anything wrong yet, but I'm planning to take a child from a bus stop tomorrow, a 7-year-old girl, take her away, rape her, and do all the nasty things to her and all the rest of it. And could that have been the reason?" I said, "Well, of course it could be the reason if you're plotting these things in your
Yeah.
head." And he said, "Oh, well, in which case, thank you to VAS, I didn't do it." And I took that to the American ICAC program out there, it's that Crimes Against Children. And I think it's about 2,000 police officers stood up and applauded. So do I believe in it? Yeah, totally. So is it,
Oh,
and it was
shit.
called a game changer there. We're at a platform now where people like yourselves are accepting it as a new gold standard screening test. The UK police forces are hopefully looking at it to do for their police recruitment. Other people are looking at it worldwide. It's not just in the UK. So it is at a launch pad now.
But let's talk about specifics now. And this is where we'll close. We
Yeah.
talk about that. We talk about offenders. We talk about police department. I mean, I know the answer to this, but I'll let you go. Where else is this? Is this being used anywhere else with success in terms of natural bodybuilding?
Apart from the UK, no. But we have gone
Well, I'm
abroad.
saying in the UK. In the UK, is it
Yeah,
happening
in
there?
the UK. Yeah, we have
With
gone abroad with competitions, and you probably know who I'm talking about. But bodybuilding is a fantastic area for us because it's you know that they're going to get drug tested afterwards if they fail it. So we're going to look at, I just couldn't consider it a learning curve, but the learning curve is over in terms of accuracy. But I want feedback. I like people to say, you know what, that was quite friendly. It wasn't intrusive. I sat there thinking nothing. It was great for me. And they're not scared. People are not scared of it. They're scared of polygraphers because that's
Yeah.
what they do. The white coat syndrome. And polygraphers use it to great effect. But there's a very nice lady presents on the screen. She's not threatening. Sorry. You apologise.
No problem.
Thought I'd turn it off. However, yeah, so it's a very friendly system. That's what I like about it. And it's designed to be friendly.
And you're
Um,
having success over there with UK DFBA Lee Kemp, right?
yeah, absolutely. And I thought Lee might have been on today. I mean, Lee Kemp has recommended us to yourselves, and Lee Kemp has recommended to other associations because he's used us very effectively and got great feedback from the athletes. And that's my big driving force is that they actually do like the system. Um, if it was intimidating and not very friendly and not very accurate, and I wouldn't do it. I'd stop instantly. But the results are phenomenal, phenomenal.
All right. So I like all this. I'm glad that we got an opportunity to do this. I'm hoping that anyone who is interested or has questions, not only just athletes, other promoters, other, spectators, anyone on the outside maybe looking in, including the people who are involved in competing, and will be competing with the AMBF. I think that this really gives a good summary and a good, a detailed intro into the system and the testing that we will be implementing. We are going to
Well,
do vast across the board. It's not going to be at just my shows. It's going to be, we're coming in and we're going to use this vast system, with RJ Goan, and they're going to handle the AMBF schedule. And I like that. I like that uniformity that we'll have. I like that you wherever you go, you know what you're getting. It's not going to be, just pieced together. I like that. I like that uniformity in that testing protocol. I really think that that is an
Well,
advantage.
that's where it wins out every single time. It's uniformity, it's standardized, it's unbiased, it's friendly. So it crossed all my tick boxes I wanted when I first wanted the system,
Yeah,
and
crosses
it
all,
just
it
works.
checks all mine too. Checks all mine too.
Lovely. That's
So I
it's
think,
and I really wish you well. And I know you've got one coming up very shortly. And so, any feedback you've got from the system, please, and I'm more than happy to hear your feedback.
all right, I appreciate everything today, and hopefully, everyone learned a lot from this because I mean, I did. I knew a lot going in, but I definitely took a lot from this as well. So I appreciate your time.
Well, I hope what comes across is I'm a passionate believer in this. I'm a passionate believer in the truth and integrity, and so that's why it does it. It ticks my boxes because I go to sleep at night now after a lot of messing with the tinkering with the chemicals, as it were. It does work. So
I,
you'll have a good time.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. God bless.